I want to take a look here at these two charts. One of them is up, as you can see, over 120% in the last year. The other is up over 160%, nearly 170% in the last 12 months. And these aren't small caps. They're not meme coins. They are respectively Monero and Stellar Lumens. Both, by the way, are in the top 35 as measured, as ranked by market cap. Typically, this is kind of what we would expect in terms of alt season, seeing returns like these, but we're not seeing these. In fact, across the board, altcoins are reflecting almost the opposite. The truth is that we are in a bull market in some areas, but when it comes to others, that's just not been the case. There has certainly not been a full-blown alt season yet. And that's been frustrating, right? Why not? It is different this time around. There's no question about that. In some good ways, certainly in some bad ways, but I want to look at three signals in particular that are pointing to the possibility of an impending arrival of this alt season that we've all been talking about for so long. And also we're going to ask ourselves the very important question, a difficult one actually, that can make that difference between a 5% ROI and a 5 times ROI. Welcome to the channel. My name is Maddie and this is Altcoin Buzz. It continues to be very tough out there, so I do wish you all the best of luck if you choose to invest. But just remember that I'm not a financial or investment advisor, nor is this video official financial or investment advice. So first and foremost, the number one sign that we can probably anticipate in some form or another an upcoming alt season is a signal that we've always looked to previously in previous bull cycles, and that is falling Bitcoin dominance. That's the metric that's coming down. This has always been the first sign in terms of that BTC dominance indicator. It's known as BTCD. When that starts falling, the rest of the pieces tend to fall into place, or at least that has been the case historically. BTCD falls in only two cases, really. Number one, the price of Bitcoin falls faster than the rest of the crypto and altcoin market for one reason or another. And number two, altcoin market prices rise faster than Bitcoin does. It's number two, obviously, that interests us, because if the value of alts generally is rising faster than BTC is rising, then that's a sign that investors and traders are rotating out of Bitcoin and into altcoins. And so this BTCD metric right now is at about 60%, a little bit over 60% actually, which is a little bit higher than we would prefer for, the beginning of an altcoin season. Somewhere in the mid-50s would be better. Here is a tweet actually that sums it up pretty well. No full-scale rotation has started, at least as of this recording, just into some of the majors. But are we in that territory yet where Bitcoin dominance is falling into an alt season level? No, not yet. The second important signal to consider is monetary expansion. And you've probably been hearing about this if you've checked out some of our recent videos pertaining to the one actually that points out December 1st as an important date. Check out that video if you haven't already. I will link to it in the description. But this is all about QT, or quantitative tightening. And it looks like that's the date on which it's going to end. That's good for us because that's when the US Federal Reserve effectively just tightens liquidity by taking money out of the market. It's the opposite of QE, or quantitative easing. So this is the opposite, right? And we want, and our market needs, quantitative easing when the central bank adds liquidity. We have been in a phase where that has not been the case. Again, we've been in a quantitative tightening phase. Liquidity is what we use to buy assets, and we make money with that money. Right now, for the next 4 weeks, we are still in the tightening stage. And when we get more liquidity in the market, it's going to chase Bitcoin first, then the high-quality altcoins, Ethereum, big caps, mid caps, cascades down, as you know. And maybe if there's anything left, the smaller, very high-risk projects come at the tail end of that whole cycle. But regardless, more liquidity is what we need in the market. And as we've explained a lot of times here before on the channel, there are just too many tokens in the market, like too many altcoin projects, far too many. And there's not enough liquidity for all of them to rise. We're no longer kind of in this era where the rising tide lifts all ships. There are too many ships. And so what we saw in 2021, earlier in 2017, it's not going to happen that way again. And now during tightening, there's even less liquidity than we're usually used to seeing. Fewer dollars, fewer euros, fewer yen, whatever your denomination is, to chase these high-risk assets. And so that's a big reason why market returns have been so uneven. and why a bull market doesn't feel like it should. It doesn't really feel that bullish. An important third signal, and it's a little bit of a hypothetical one, is the reopening of the US government. It is a fact of life, even if we don't want to admit it, that government is a big player in our day-to-day life. The United States government in particular is involved in all kinds of different industries, more and more markets really than ever before. And in a lot of cases, they are the biggest spenders. And right now, all of that is off with the government shutdown. We are nearly 40 days into it. We're starting to see some cracks in many areas. If you've been following this, then you know the airline industry, food aid to people, to U.S. citizens. Of course, these are big stories right now. The airline industry is going to see some cuts at the 40 biggest airports soon if the shutdown continues. That's at least as of this recording, the reporting, all the information would suggest that's going to be kind of the inevitability. And then not to mention that a lot of macroeconomic data that we get on things like inflation, manufacturing, jobs, and all that kind of stuff, it's not being calculated. Those workers aren't there, and the market uses this data. I don't know if it needs this data, but certainly that is useful information. It's useful data to have. So I think that we, probably can't get into a full-blown alt season at a time when the government is shut down and all this economic data with the U.S. government is unavailable. When it reopens, that'll be a catalyst in that sense towards that end. All right, let's close off with some thought experiments here and ask a little bit of a question. And it's a question that many of us don't want to deal with if we are being honest with ourselves. Here it is. What if altcoin season is already here? What if this is it? If we look at the charts to begin with Ether, we'll also take a look at BNB and Link, Link, are they the entire market? No, they are not, obviously not, but they are leaders. And they are all up between 20 and 40% in the last 12 months, even if it doesn't feel that way because the last few weeks, the last month or two have been rough. But on the whole, in the last 12 months, actually, there are some positive numbers that we can point to. One of our favorites, Hedera, HBAR is the token, is even up over 240% in the last year. Meaning, in other words, they are in a bull market already, at least objectively by the numbers, even if it's not the way you would have wanted it to play out, even if it doesn't feel that way. And the whole Trump, Melania, Elon, Shiba, all the shitcoins out there that you have, that is a whole different subject and not a pleasant one from my point of view. But obviously they saw their peaks last November, December, and have basically been losing money ever since. But again, what if we are in a bull market alt season already? Well, look, we all know there's not enough liquidity to increase the value of altcoins like the previous bull cycles. I mentioned 2021, 2017. It's not going to happen that same way again. There are just too many coins out there. It's not possible. In fact, we've been saying all along and for a few years now that you have to pick accordingly. This is a picker's market, meaning you have to make the right selections and pick well. That includes hot narratives. We have subscribed to AI, artificial intelligence, and RWA, of course, real world assets, but not just those. Utility is another very important variable, both the project and the coin actually doing something pragmatically in the real world. Paying for gas or governance does not count, by the way. Other considerations, lending or growing in importance in their specific sector. So for example, I could make a few guesses as to what the leading RWA project is or will be in 6 months. Maybe it's Ondo. Maybe it's something else, but you want to hold the strongest projects in a particular sector. Maybe I should speak for myself. That's my point of view, but I would assume you feel the same way. And all I'm trying to say here is that the days of nearly anything doing a 10x or more, a 50x, those days are gone. That's if they were ever here in the first place, which is debatable perhaps. You have to pick, and you can easily pick good projects that'll go up several fold, 5 times, maybe 10-fold from here before the next cycle kicks in. But you have to be a lot more discerning with those selections.